The quietest portable generator on the market gets a lot louder the moment somebody pulls one plastic panel off the side of it. The engine underneath is untouched, still turning at the same speed with the same muffler on it, and all that's come off is a molded cover. So the noise your generator makes is mostly not arriving out of the exhaust. It comes off the engine itself, and off 4 other places nobody mentions, which is why the muffler you were thinking of buying will disappoint you, and why the fixes that actually work are mostly free. 5 things are making that noise, and it's worth having them in your head before you spend a penny. The engine case itself, thin air-cooled metal radiating straight out, the intake, where it sucks air in through the carburetor, the exhaust, the frame, and whatever the frame is standing on, and the cooling fan whining away at the back. Nearly all the money people spend goes at the exhaust, which is one of the 5. One item further down this list is a part your engine's manufacturer already makes in a quiet version and chose not to fit, and finding out whether yours exists takes about 5 minutes. Number 1, and it costs nothing. Look at what the thing is standing on. A generator is an engine bolted to a steel frame, and that frame is in hard contact with the ground. Put it on a wooden deck, and the deck becomes a drum. I did that once at a place I was helping out with, sat it on the boards because they were flat and close to the door, and you could feel it through your feet in the kitchen. I slid it off onto the grass, maybe 6 feet, and the low rumble more or less went. Grass and dirt are the best thing you've got. Soft, they don't ring, and they soak up a little of whatever hits them. A concrete pad is the worst of the usual options because it's hard and flat and it throws everything back up at you. If concrete is all you have, get a thick rubber mat under the feet, a horse stall mat, an offcut of conveyor belt, an old tire laid flat with a board over it, anything that breaks the metal to hard surface contact. This is where I start on any generator before I've picked up a tool. Number 2, turn it round. One is everybody says point the exhaust away from the house, and that's correct as far as it goes. The rest of the instruction is what the exhaust is pointing at. Aim that outlet down at a concrete pad or at a wall a couple of feet away, and the sound comes straight back at you. On a meter, it can read higher than if you'd left the machine alone. I watched a man carefully rotate his generator so the pipe faced a brick wall, on the reasoning that the wall was now between him and the noise. He'd built himself a megaphone and aimed it at his own back door. Point it at open ground, or at trees, or at scrub. Away from your house, away from your neighbor's house, and clear of anything hard and flat within a few feet of it. 10 seconds of work, and it's the first time you've actually touched the exhaust. Number 3 is the one everybody underrates, because nobody attaches a figure to it. Distance. Out in the open, away from walls, every time you double your distance from a noise source, the sound level drops by about 6 decibels. A decibel is just the unit noise gets measured in, and 6 of them is a genuine, obvious drop. That isn't my measurement, it's simply how sound spreads in open air. 10 feet out to 20 is 6 decibels, 20 to 40 is another 6, and doubling it again gets you 6 more on top. A muffler swap done properly might get you 5. You can beat the muffler with an extension cord. There's a floor on this, and the floor isn't about noise at all. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, the American federal agency that tracks deaths and injuries from consumer products, says run a portable generator outdoors only, at least 20 feet from the house, exhaust pointed away from doors, windows, and vents. 20 feet is the minimum for staying alive. 40 is where it starts getting quiet, which is exactly where the cord catches you out. Long runs on thin cable drop the voltage and cook whatever you plugged in at the far end, so the cheap cord quietly puts a ceiling on how far you can go. Buy the heavy gauge one for the length you actually need. It costs more than you want it to, and I still think it's the cheapest 6 decibels on this list. Number 4. Boards leaned against it, and the bottom left wide open. This is the best free fix there is, and people ruin it by making it tidy. What you want is 4 flat sheets, plywood, oriented strand board, an old door, whatever stiff panels behind the shed. Lean them against the generator at an angle, wide at the bottom and close together at the top, not touching the machine, a good couple of feet off it. Sound that hits the inside face gets bounced down into the grass instead of out across the yard. Around 10 decibels is realistic here, and 10 decibels is roughly what a person hears as half as loud. I've leaned boards on more of these than I can count, and the mistake is always the same. Somebody builds a box, that open bottom is your cooling air. A generator is air-cooled, which means the moving air is the cooling system. and a sealed lid over the top makes it an oven. One owner cooked the alternator end, the electrical half that makes the power, while the engine came through fine, and that repair was worth more than his enclosure. Keep the boards well clear of the exhaust, too. A man stacked wood a few feet from his running generator one winter to knock the noise down, came back half an hour later and found it alight inches from his van. I've picked up a generator muffler exactly once, and I've never needed the reminder since. That takes us to the money. And number 5 is 5 minutes of it. Briggs & Stratton list quiet mufflers in their own parts catalog. Low tone and super low tone, they call them, a reduced noise design, and they fit engines that get sold every single day with the loud one bolted on instead. The company that built the engine making your noise already makes the quiet part for it. Your machine shipped with the other one because the other one is cheaper, and I've never got a satisfying answer out of anybody as to why that's still how it works. So get the engine model number off the sticker on the block, not the generator model, the engine one, and look up which silencers fit it. Sometimes there's a quiet version listed, sometimes not. It's the lowest effort thing in this entire video, and it costs you nothing to check. If there isn't one for your engine, then you're cutting metal, and number 6 is what to cut. Start with what not to do. Somebody tested the car muffler properly on camera. Same generator, same spot, meter at 25 feet, and the car muffler came in at 70 decibels against the factory one at 75. A full afternoon of cutting, clamping, and swearing at it bought him 5 decibels. It works, just nothing like as well as the internet promises, and now you know why, because it only ever touches one of the 5 sources. The better answer is in the same scrapyard. Use a motorcycle or a scooter silencer. A car muffler is built for the smooth, continuous flow of 4 or 6 cylinders, and your generator is a single cylinder thumping out hard, separate pulses. A bike exhaust is designed for precisely that, packed with absorptive material and roughly the right physical size instead of comically oversized. This is the correction I've seen made more than any other by people who've done the job. Seal every joint, because a leak upstream of the muffler makes the whole exercise pointless. And whatever you do, don't bolt a heavy silencer rigidly to the frame. The engine sits on rubber mounts and moves around. Your frame doesn't. People have cracked exhaust ports and snapped welds doing exactly this. Use a flexible section between engine and muffler, and hang the weight on a proper rubber exhaust mount like a car uses. Number 7 is the source almost nobody treats, the intake. Your engine pulls air in through the carburetor, which is the part that mixes fuel and air before it goes into the cylinder, and that opening makes a real amount of noise. The hard sucking edge you can hear is mostly this. No muffler on earth touches it, because it sits at the opposite end of the engine. I ignored this one for years myself, and I was wrong too. The fix is a proper air filter housing, or a length of tube on the intake, so the air arrives from somewhere else. Small engine people do this with a little silencer or a car air cleaner on the intake side and report it quietening things noticeably. 2 rules though. The filter still has to breathe, so don't choke it down to nothing. And it needs clean, cool air, so never feed it from inside a hot enclosure. If you're going to line anything, and number 8 says you should, line it with the right material: rock wool, mineral wool, fiberglass ductboard, dense fibrous stuff that sound goes into and doesn't come back out of. That's what commercial generator enclosures are packed with, and it's what I use. Rigid foam board is the one to avoid, and I understand the appeal because it's cheap and it cuts beautifully and it looks exactly like the answer. What it has is an R value. That's a measure of heat flow, and heat is a different problem from noise. Blocking sound wants weight, and foam board hasn't got any. So the absorbing and the blocking are 2 separate layers. The heavy one goes on the outside, mass-loaded vinyl, which is a limp, dense sheet made for exactly this, or honestly just plywood or medium-density fiberboard, the heavy brown board they make flat-pack furniture from. The fibrous stuff goes on the inside face of it. Number 9 is the proper enclosure, and before I describe one, I'll give you the figure that should govern the whole decision. The Consumer Product Safety Commission estimates about 85 people a year in the United States die of carbon monoxide poisoning from petrol portable generators. That's their number, on figures covering 2011 to 2021, and 81% of those deaths happened at home. The same agency says a single portable generator can put out as much carbon monoxide as hundreds of cars. You can't see it or smell it, and it doesn't care how carefully you built the box. So what you're building is an air path, and the walls are incidental. Fresh air comes in low at one end, Hot air leaves high at the other end. The two openings never face each other, and each one gets a right angle elbow or a baffle over it, so the sound has to turn corners while the air walks straight through. Put a fan on it rather than hoping convection sorts it out, and give the carburetor its own supply from outside the box instead of the hot recirculated stuff. Somebody built one from medium-density fiberboard and sound panels, with dryer ducting carrying the exhaust out and fans moving the air so he could weld in the garage of an apartment block. He asked the neighbors the next morning after 2 hours of it, and they'd heard nothing. All of that came out of the mass and the airflow. Number 10. If the machine lives in one spot, build it a house of its own, and put that house away from yours. Freestanding, which means not attached to your home, not sharing a wall with it, and not the garage. Framed and sheathed, mineral wool in the walls, a vented air path in low and out high, and the exhaust piped through the wall with a flexible section so the engine can still move. This is also the only thing on the list that does anything about the fifth source, which I owe you. The cooling fan and the alternator sit at the back of the machine and whine, and no exhaust work on earth reaches them. A man running off-grid 500 or 600 hours a year put it plainly. He'd got the exhaust sounding like a car, and with the door shut, the fan was the loudest thing he had left. Distance and a barrier both take the edge off it. A lined enclosure is the only thing that really removes it. One caution on the machine itself. Newer generators have a carbon monoxide sensor that shuts the engine down on its own. Underwriters Laboratories and the Portable Generator Manufacturers Association, the two bodies that write the safety standards for these things, both set the trip point at 600 parts per million, or 400 parts per million averaged over 10 minutes. If your generator shuts itself off inside your enclosure, that is the machine working correctly. Go and fix the air and never engineer your way around it. While the shed is on your mind, one more thing that isn't about noise. If you're feeding the house rather than running cords to individual appliances, that's a transfer switch or a panel interlock, and an electrician fits it. Never backfeed through a wall socket or a dryer outlet. That pushes power back out onto the lines, and it can kill the crew working to get your street back on. Line workers will tell you they quite like hearing a generator during a storm, because a machine they can hear is one they know about. Quiet yours down as much as you want and wire it properly first. Right. 5 things that get recommended constantly and that I leave alone. The foam board box. There's a popular design going round made from 2-inch expanded polystyrene, and the man who built it measured his own result honestly and got about 3.5 decibels at 25 feet under load. That's the material telling you what it's worth. The bigger problem is what polystyrene does once it's alight, which is burned straight across the whole exposed surface until there's none of it left. The residential building code won't let it sit uncovered inside a house at all without 1/2-inch plasterboard over the top of it, and that's for a wall with no engine on it. Wrapping the stuff round a red-hot exhaust in your garden is a choice, and it isn't one I'd make. Egg cartons. Whatever they do to a room they're stapled inside. Out in the open air around a generator they are doing nothing at all except sitting there as kindling. I have never seen them shift a reading outdoors. Running the exhaust into a bucket of water. This comes back round every year. The version that genuinely works is a boat installation with an anti-siphon valve fitted, and that valve is the entire reason water doesn't get pulled back into a cylinder as the engine cools. Without one, you have standing water on the end of a pipe attached to your engine. One man piped his into a swimming pool and measured no reduction whatsoever, burying the machine in a pit with a lid over it. That does work, and soldiers have been doing it with sandbags for decades, so I won't pretend otherwise. It's also a hole that fills with rainwater and drowns the engine, collects petrol vapor, and traps exhaust gas in the exact spot you have to put your head to refuel it. I'm not telling anybody to dig it, and the most common suggestion of the lot, which is put it in the shed or in the garage. You'll see that recommended everywhere, and I understand why, because it looks like it solves 2 problems at once. A shed with a couple of 6-inch vents in it is not ventilation for an engine, it's a smaller room. Outdoors, 20 feet, exhaust pointed away, and I'd hold that line on a bad night in February. Get it off the concrete, turn the outlet away from anything flat, walk it out as far as a proper heavy cord will carry, and lean 4 boards round it with the bottom open. That's an afternoon, it costs you nothing, and I'd expect it to take more off than the muffler you were about to buy. The muffler can wait until you've done all 4. Subscribe if you want the rest of them. I do the same job on walls, doors, floors, and cars, and it comes out the same way nearly every time. which is that the thing that works is almost never the thing on the shelf.